competitors. And so we don't have the ad budgets they do, but we got or what?
It is.
What am I in, like this, Georgia? Hey, and welcome to our friends beaming in from the global World Wide Web. We're glad you're here. So today's gardening class is going to be on gardening for newcomers. Just what are the secrets? It's kind of a technical thing. So it's zones, it's frost dates, it's what grows when. That'll help you hopefully start at the right time with less mistakes.
And adapt.
And adapt, yeah. So the way you learn gardening is by making mistakes. We just want to make sure you're making mistakes in the right direction, never going backwards. So we don't want to go this way. We just always want to go that way. So high elevation's kind of a challenge. It's windy, it's dry. It's a challenge. It's brighter. The elevation causes a lot and our water. So with my lovely assistant here, Michelle Hyatt runs basically half my garden center. She does all of our grows, all of our anything that flowers, blooms, fruits. She's in control of that, and I trust her explicitly. And she is a wealth of knowledge. Arizona certified nursery professional, been in the industry for forever. So 10 years?
10 years.
Only a decade.
Yeah, I
thought
in
more. Yak like
hotel
more.
work after.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so Michelle and I agreed to tag team this. So my name is Ken Lane. I'm the owner of the garden center. So how does Ken Lane come to own Waters Garden Center? Well, I married a Waters. So Harold Waters was the founder of the garden center back in 1962, and he had 4 pretty daughters. I took a liking to the youngest and I think the prettiest. So anyway, I married Lisa Waters. And so we've got 4 kids. 4 kids are working here at the garden center. Meet my son-in-law, Jeremy. He married my oldest daughter. So it is truly a family business. Gardening. With that, we can get started with gardening.
Gardening. Okay, so the thing with being here, we are Zone 7. So when you are
what does that mean?
Zone 7 means that plants we can normally, temperature-wise, we will get down to 0 in the winter. The 4 years that I've actually been here, we kind of ranged in that 5 to 10 degrees. Yeah. I've never seen it at 0.
I have.
He has,
and
but
it's
he's
not
been here
fun.
Forever.
Blinkers go on your car, you fire it up, goes, whoa. Everything is in slow motion. It's crazy. So,
we do get cold and we do get hot. So we do have those very big extreme temperature swings, which is where our variables come from. So we do have seasons. So welcome to a 4-season area. We have spring, winter, summer, and fall. So you'll get to see a lot of that. We have 3 really good growing dates. So we do plant early vegetables in the springtime. We also do fruit tree planting, strawberries, all of that goes in early spring. In the summertime, we get perennials and flowering shrubs, evergreens, all through the summer that you can plant at any point. And then fall, We get evergreens that are great to plant.
All color.
Fall color, pansies, snapdragons, all of that stuff. Also, you can do a cool season vegetable garden in the fall here because we can do lettuces and your greens, chard, all that fun stuff. So
You can have flowers right through winter. It's that mild.
Yeah.
You can harvest broccoli for
it-
Christmas dinner.
Right.
Spinach, kale all winter long.
Snapdragons all through the
Yeah.
winter. My pots were gorgeous.
Yeah.
I still have pansies.
Oh, you're
they're
kidding
about
me.
ready to
Yeah.
go, but I still have pansies in my pots. So this weekend, all the pansies are going.
I tell folks we really have multiple seasons. We really have 6 seasons here. Early spring, which is March and April. It's still frosting, but the days are really bright and beautiful. So you get lulled into thinking the frost is over at the end of March. You'll be going, oh, I'm going to plant my tomatoes. And then you'll get that last snow or frost the end of April and zips them. We don't mind that happening because we know where you can buy new tomatoes to replace those that were frosted. But that's early spring. You plant the leafy things, pansies, kale, spinach, lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower. Those are all things they like the cold. The flavor comes out when there's frosty nights. And then about Mother's Day, that's our last frost. That's spring season.
Technically.
Really spring. That's when the last frost. That's when you put tomatoes, zucchinis, eggplants, all that summer stuff. And then I make June its own month. I call it perennial month. Perennials are those things that come back every year. So June, July is when you'll see the best looking perennials, and they're all in bloom. So perennials in spring, they're kind of green, they're coming back, they're kind of ugly, they're green things in a bucket. They're not inspirational. June, July, you see them in color and go, I can envision this. This is beautiful, I got this. Then you got summer. Summer planting that's now monsoons. That's crepe myrtles, rose of Sharons, roses, lots of the butterfly bush, lots of the shade trees, big things like big screening plants. This is a great time to plant those because the humidity's up. You can feel it, can't you? The soil is warm, and so they just start rooting and growing right away. So it's a good time as long as you can watch that watering in between monsoon storms. Great time to plant. Then you go fall color. That's kind of the fifth. So I'm on 5 now. 5. That's fall color. That's aspens, maples, a lot of fruit trees go in. You folks from the Midwest, you'll follow us for planting. It is a good time to plant. And then you've got winter evergreens. So October, November, December, we have a lot of this trend of living Christmas trees. I want to use something green in the house for the holidays and then bring it outdoors and plant it. We finally got out of the cut tree business because we were selling way more living trees than cut trees. We'd rather sell a living thing than a dead cut thing. So those are kind of the seasons you'll find here just because it's so mild. With that, back at you.
So we're going to kind of go over how to plant here. It is very unique. If anybody,
I should pass this around.
Oh,
can I do that?
Absolutely.
So I've got 3 handouts. How to plant. That just reminds me. What he's going to cover. I've got Yavapai friendly plants. This is just the top. You can't kill these plants. By no means is it everything you can grow. But if you're going to start, you don't know where to start with these. So they're easier. They're maybe not as inspirational. And I put it down into truly native hardcore xeriscape. We don't sell as many of those because they're kind of ugly things, mangly, wild things. But then you go to like Russian sage. It acts like a wild thing, but it's beautiful. So we saw a ton of those. And then I broke it down into, it might need a little bit of care. So it's kind of 3 categories that you can kind of look at. So I'm going to email these to you in a PDF format. And so you can open it up. I can't print all of these, but you need all this if you're new to the area. I think it'll help you. And then I'm going to send next week's garden column. Every week I write a garden column. It gets picked up in the papers, kind of all of them. Next week's is Garden for Newcomers. So if you miss a note, you'll have it before anyone else does. You'll have that in your inbox here this afternoon. So if you give me your email address, it'll be there, and I'll probably, real simple, put 3 links. You just open them at your leisure. If you don't want those, don't put your email down. If you're already on our email list, this is not going to all 11,000 people. This is only going to you all. So I don't want to bug everyone else. Jeremy, maybe online, these folks, maybe the board ends up here, so you can maybe embed the links into the conversation level, okay? Yeah, great.
I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, great. That pass back, sorry.
No problem. So planting here is a little bit difficult. If anybody's tried to dig a hole, it's very difficult. You do need a pick.
Jackhammer.
Or a pry bar or a jackhammer to get a hole dug. We all have it. There's not one nice place, unless you live like downtown Prescott where it used to be an orchard. Only those folks don't.
The old
have to
farms
do
in
that.
Chino Valley are pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but those are all developed, and all that new ridge lines,
Yeah.
rock hard. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So don't feel bad that you have that. The first hole I dug here, it was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But you learn to work really hard, and you get these holes, and then you amend and all that stuff. So we do need to help our soils. Basically, they're dead. We have no nutrients hardly ever in the soil itself. So we do need to amend the soil. We need to add organic matter, which is the premium mulch, to help our plants,
Borrow this
whether
chair
you
just so
are
I can
in
play Urbana.
clay soil or whether you're in DG like up at Thumbry, where you just have really
Does that look
porous
okay?
sandy soil. You need organic matter. Both situations you will need this
That's
material. For your clay, it helps open up the pores, it helps break it down. In the DG, it gives something to hold on to as far as water and all that. When you plant a tree or shrub, you are going to dig your hole twice as wide of whatever is going in there.
Can we hold this rows of sharing up?
Sure.
About that. Can they see that online okay?
Oh, yeah.
So like this.
Yeah, so hole's going to be about like that. You're going to do a bowl shape, and you want to do it so the outside is kind of rough, so the roots, when it gets there, has somewhere to wiggle through. 2/3 natural soil, because they have to learn how to live in what we live in, and 1/3 mulch. You don't want that hole to be too rich. Some people ask me, why can't I just do a whole bag of mulch? Well, too much of a good thing is never good. So enrich it, but be cautious of not going overboard with it. And you will be successful this way. It's a little bit more challenging, but it is doable. So it just takes some time. And like we were talking earlier with the instantaneous results, you have to be patient. Things will get there.
I would say too, like I'm going to plant, I've done quite a bit of planting this week and just taking advantage that rain came. The ground was a little easier to work with. I wanted some butterfly bush and a rabbit bush. I wanted some things. And so my yard is up above Prescott Lakes, north side slope, the hardest gardening I've ever done. And I've farmed all over the county. This is the hardest I've ever had, but I've learned to be successful. What I do is I amend it heavily, and I'll dig a nice big hole, and it's better to leave a little bit of that root out of the ground rather than being subsurface. So Phoenix tells us you want to rain harvest, have a divot and leave that plant where it could pick up the rain. If you're from Phoenix, please erase that knowledge. That's not good advice up in the mountains of Arizona. You will drown your plants, and it will happen during the monsoon rains or the March snow. March and August, September, kind of wet months. You really want to be at level. So this top of this root ball should be exposed to the air. Don't bury it. And if anything, I've got such heavy clay, I'll actually leave 2-3 inches out of the ground, and I'll slightly mound just that soil around that. And then I'll put my irrigation or my water well around that. It's a game changer, especially that 69 corridor, the ranch, Yavapai Hills, all the way out to Dewey, Spring Valley, heavy clay with caliche layers. Actually this calcium layer that's just like cement, doesn't drain. And then if I'm in doubt, I'll dig that hole up. I'll fill that thing up in the morning, and if it still has water sitting there at the end of the day, I did not plant a digging hole. I dug a bathtub or a duck pond or something, but a plant is not going to grow in that. As long as it drains by the end of the day, it's going to go. So drainage is the key. So, and really as you get closer to Granite Mountain, that kind of stuff, it drains pretty well, almost too well. But as you get away from that, you're getting heavier and heavier clay and caliche layers. That'll be a game changer. Again, what she said, anything bigger than a golf ball, a screen out of there. Some of you, that copper basin there just rocks everywhere. You want to screen that big, anything bigger than this heats up in summer and just bakes the roots. It doesn't hold enough water molecules to really to make the plant healthy. So screen that out sometimes. If it looks like it's pretty fine, use it all. You want the plant to get used to that, and then I'll add my mulch and blend that with what remains. And then that's what I'm using to backfill, like Michelle had said, to pack that around the roots. That's the real secret to success. You need more organics. Some of you poor folks in those new Granville areas, some of the new subdivisions, what little tiny topsoil you had, they scraped it off, put down your footers and your driveways, and you literally have dead soil. You're gonna have to add organic. I mean, there's not one worm, no mycorrhizal colony. There's nothing living in that soil. And so plants don't like that. If you put a plant in dead soil, it'll sit there, it won't die. It'll just sit there. 3 years later, it'll still look like that, the same. It almost mocks you going, I'm not going to grow. I'll teach you to put me in this kind of environment. So, but if you amend it, it starts to enliven the soil, starts to actually help that plant to re-energize the soil. The worms will come. The birds will start pecking around. It'll just enliven that soil and activate it again.
Right. And then as far as watering goes, watering is really important. And this time of year, we tend to overwater things.
We're seeing that a lot.
So it's really hard for us to say, okay, you are here, you're only going to water once or twice a week. That's it. It's not that simple. So you have to pay attention to your environment, what's happening as far as the weather goes. Are we 105? You might need to go out and put a hose on a plant, but it just depends on the weather. And you're gardeners. You should be out there. You should be checking your plants. You should be testing your plants. Hugging your plants. So this is what makes us more successful. Watering established plants, once a week watering is all you need, as long as you're getting the volume that the plant needs. So I talk to a lot of people, I'm just watering, my irrigation system comes on 4 times a week and it waters 10 minutes. It's like, why? So 10 minutes in a 4-gallon emitter is like throwing a shot glass of water on your plant. So think of it as volume. Those emitter systems are meant to run for an hour. So they're a 1 gallon, 2 gallon, 5 gallon, 10 gallons, all about the volume of water, and let them run for that hour. If you have one single system that waters everything in your yard, that's okay, because you can add emitters for your bigger stuff. So your big trees get that 25, 30 gallons, whereas your smaller shrubs are getting that 5 to 8 or whatever, or your perennials are getting the 2 gallons that they need. So it's doable. You just have to think it through when you're planting your garden.
The typical landscaper installs a 1 gallon per hour emitter head. So if you're not familiar, the Midwest, some places actually don't use irrigation. Just Mother Nature takes care of them. Not here. So here you'll need to actually water either by hand or usually we use a drip system or micro irrigation. And the most common emitter out there is a 1 gallon per hour emitter. That's if you have it installed, that's what they use. So you need to run the system for an hour to get 1 gallon of water on the plant. This is a 2 gallon plant. This probably is going to need about 2 gallons of water per week. This is a 1 gallon plant. It's going to need about 1 gallon per hour per week. This is a 5 gallon plant. It needs about 5 gallons of water a week. So a brand new plant needs watering twice a week. And you probably ought to be giving it 2.5, 3 gallons per time. That's, if you give this 2.5 gallons, it'll water through the entire root ball plus a little bit more. That's the goal. if you're turning your drip system on 10 minutes, like Michelle's saying, that water's only going down about that deep, and you're not
You're
you're keeping that plant, you're forcing it to be dependent on you. It's not rooting deeper. It's actually sacrificing all the deeper roots just to depend on your drip irrigation. So you really do want to water deeply and then let it rest. So that's the secret. So new plants twice a week. Established plants, if you got an older home, plants are established. Plants are established after its second spring growing season. That's considered established. So the roots are not from here, now they're going out here. Then you can back it off to once a week. But the biggest mistake I find newbies make, they're just watering, every day for 10 minutes, and they wonder why their plants are suffering. That's why. They just aren't deeply watering, they aren't watering enough. Yeah. So good advice.
Yeah. And if you have moved into a new home where you have a ton of established stuff, go out and look at your system. I will guarantee you that all your trees, your emitter system is right next to your tree. This is wrong.
Right to the trunk, yeah.
I've even seen where the tree is this big and I have an emitter system.
One emitter system.
It is blue. The tree actually grew around it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like your drip system is out here. So if this is established, this is where you should be feeding and watering. So go out and take a look at it. That'll help save your trees and shrubs. This year, we've had a lot of maples that aren't leafing out at the top. And it's like, what's going on?
Drought.
It's the drought. We've had 2 years without a monsoon season. So we've had more rain this year than we've had in the last 2 years. Yeah. So we're very thankful for that.
Flowers, vegetables, lawns, that's different. Yeah. So trees, shrubs, things that are deeply rooted. So most trees get a root system about 18 to 24 inches down. They don't form a taproot. That's a myth. It just hits a rock or hits caliche or there's nothing down there for them. So they'll go down about 18 inches. I call it the big hockey stick. Then it just kind of turns and goes like this, shunk, straight out. And so it's picking up water. The plants know, pick up as much water as you can when you see it. So the roots are hovering above, just underneath the surface of the soil. So it can take advantage of that. If that's how you know plants are going to grow naturally, dig a shallow, wide hole so you can encourage the roots to grow that way. You can force them to grow the way that you want. That's also the reason that native plants don't transplant. They die virtually to the plant because it puts on that big taproot. There's no way as soon as you dig that root ball, most of the root is way out there. And so they just don't transplant. They die within just a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So anyway, watering, I think we covered that. Yeah. You do water 12 months out of the year.
Yes, we do water 12 months out of the year. Yeah. So there's seasons as far as the watering goes as well. So we have a summertime watering schedule where you're watering once a week or twice a week, depending on the size of your plants. You have your shoulder seasons, which is like September to November and March till May. Those, you can still do that once a week watering because we're cooler. We don't evaporate so much. So you can actually back off on your water. December through March, twice a month. So everybody shuts off their emitter systems in November. Drag your hose out. Your big trees, even though it's winter, you need to water. Last year we had one snowstorm and it was in November.
It was at the wrong time. When plants were actively using water.
And people come back, especially if you have two houses, you have to make sure you get up here at least once a month and make sure everything is watered because you'll come back, your plant may have enough to get started, then it's going to die. And it's because there was no winter water.
That's the evergreens. You saw a lot of death and decay with the evergreens around your neighborhood. That's why. They weren't watered in the winter. They dried out, got cold, died, just like that. There's no recovery with an evergreen. There's no recovery. A deciduous tree, things that lose their leaves, you can maybe get them to kind of nurse them back to relief. Could take a year or two, but you can nurse them back. Yeah. Evergreens, they're corpseville. That's it. So when you get done planting this whole thing, backfill, water in really good. I'll sprinkle some of this all-purpose plant food around the edge. take this out. So a lot of folks go, I want to mix it in. I want to put it on top, but just get it there. It doesn't matter. I'm the laziest gardener ever. I just kind of mix up the mulch, backfill, and I just take a handful and sprinkle it around. It looks salt and peppered when you get done. This is what's going to fertilize it, encourage it to leaf and grow and bloom for the next 3 months. So organic food we make, 4 plants here. I think I'll add to that. It's so important to fertilize when the monsoons come. I'm gonna send that kind of how to fertilize, when to fertilize, and what to fertilize with. So in my own yard, I've added this. I just fertilized before that last rainstorm we had. What was that, Wednesday? I put this and this on my entire landscape, just because plants are stressed. This gets them to root, fertilize the soil so it becomes active. Then this actually makes the plants grow and bloom again. So put those both down, and it rained just like that. It's like washing windows or washing your car. So it was great.
And the fabulous thing about this is it does have that sulfur in it, which helps lower our pH level. That allows the plants to intake all that good stuff. You
should explain pH. Why that's important? Because a lot of these folks were saying they're from acid country. They've never dealt with high pH.
So our pH level in our soils and our water table are so alkaline, which means it's salty. So we want to bring that level down, because most plants like that more neutral level in that,
6.5 is what the book says is perfect.
Yeah.
You'll never see that here. But
so a lot of people will say, well, should I put wood ash or lime on my soils? Because a lot of places do that because they need to raise that acidity level. Here you do not need that. We are so high on the table. Most of us land in that 9% or whatever.
Highest I've ever seen was 9.4 out of a well in Chino Valley.
Yeah.
Who's our Chino Valley person out here? Yeah. It was a well. They'd gotten into the upper aquifer. 9.5. That's like death and decay. If you call into a hot tub and the pH is 9.5, your skin will feel like it's crawling off when you get out. So will the roots of your plants. They'll just want to debark themselves and go, I don't like this. So you want to bring that pH down.
And the sulfur will help you do that.
Yeah.
So whether you use this or soil activator, which will bring that down, that pH level is very, very important to keep it more neutral.
If the plants look a little yellow, so we've been watering quite a bit in June, what happens is, as you water, the water is the enemy. As you water, the soil takes on the pH of the water, and the water guaranteed is high. And we're all dealing with well water. All the mountaintops, Thumb Butte, Glassford Hills, every hilltop you see is an old volcano core. So all that ash that was around the volcano settled down, and now it's filled up with water. We stick a straw in the ground, and we're pulling up water out of this ash-filled water. So that's why it's so high in pH. So when you see HGTV or Fine Garden Magazine going, oh, it's time to put lime on the garden, I'm going to sweeten the soil. Don't listen. That will kill your soil if you do that, because that's made to raise the pH. It's totally different. This little bubble here in the Southwest is unique. Everywhere else in the country is very acidic. They're trying to do the opposite of us. So things stop blooming in July. They turn yellow in July because you've been watering and the pH has crept up. As soon as you lower the pH, it greens up just like that. The fruits start to get larger. The flower fragrance comes out. Just everything starts to activate better. And you can take advantage of the monsoon rain right now by fertilizing with this. Yeah. And it's a game. You can get a whole nother growing season out of your plants, because plants are waiting. June is the hardest month to grow. You think January is, but June is brand new foliage. It's windy. There's prevailing southwest wind. It's hot. 10% humidity. That's rough on plants. Just get it to live through June, because the monsoons are coming. And as soon as that humidity, the cloud cover comes, you feel better. So do your plants. And they'll just start setting all new foliage. That leaf tear on that brand new maple will just start, they'll put on all new growth. And it's literally a growing season.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then water in when you're all done with?
Correct.
Root and grow?
Root and grow. So we have a product that is great for stress.
We're going back to how to plant, huh?
How to plant is great for stress.
I'll take your Vanna. Here, let's show them too.
So during our heat
okay?
stroke time frame, plants do go through a lot of stress. You'll see where they're just going on like this, or your apple leaves are kind of curling up, your tomato leaves are curling up. They're trying to protect themselves. You know, we kind of fizzled out in the end of the day. We're kind of going, so the root and grow is a stress reducer. It also has some micronutrients that help feed the plant. It helps with that stress relief, and it smells like molasses. So it's one of the better smelling stuff that we sell.
It's one of the better. That's because we're big in organics. We're not into chemicals. We're big in organics. And so this is compost tea, basically. We just brew it and then comes up. So can you use this on just about anything you plant from online? This is, I made this for transplant shock. What I find is every time you plant, you should put this on. I would say do it every couple of weeks until you see that plant stabilize. It's starting to grow, starting to take off. Then you don't need this anymore. That's when the fertilizer is now taking over. This also makes the best houseplant food you've ever seen. Cactus foods, yuccas, agaves, the best food ever. Just mix it in a watering can, water it around, and just kind of be liberal with it. It helps plants re-root. It juices the soil so they want to root out. That's what it does. So anyway, it does have a little earthy smell to it. Anyway, that's root and grow. And you'll only find it here at Lawn Garden Center. Here, you folks. Hey, could you do me a favor for just a minute? You folks, we've got our VIP customers here, virtual in person. We prefer them, but we know you're tuned in. You'll come see us. If you could, give us a like, follow, comment, because we're competing against Home Depot and Home Depot Lowe's. That helps Google find us. So we'd really appreciate that if you tuned in.
So we just had a question about
commercial.
Lowering the pH. We kind of jumped from one subject to the other, but if you have azaleas or any of that, soil sulfur is available, and you can add that to even lower it even more. So that's what we would do with that.
And we recommend, you'll have that handout here in this. I'll make sure that's in if you put your email on there. It's how to fertilize. I fertilize in the spring with the all-purpose food, this stuff. And I put soil sulfur down. In the summer, right now, I put this down again, and I use humac, that's a green bag, because plants are stressed. It's been hot, new leaves. It helps them kind of re-root. In the fall of the year, I just use this. So that's kind of my, and really, if you got evergreens, you should really fertilize at the new year, because plants have this chlorosis, this yellowing to them. They get this off color. Your deodar cedars, some of your pines, spruce, they get this off color. If you fertilize at the new year, which is very usual, but we're just so mild, plants really are still using moisture, still taking up nutrients, even in midwinter, and it keeps them really green. So you'll fertilize more often here because you don't have any topsoil. That 8-foot Wisconsin, who's my Wisconsin person? Was that? Yeah, we don't have 8-foot topsoil here. We got like millimeters if you have any at all. So you need to fertilize. You'll find you fertilize more often than you would other parts of the country. Good.
Okay.
Can I cover a zone 7 too?
Sure.
It's such a mysterious thing.
Yeah.
So we're zone 7. We need plants to go down to 5, 10 degrees. What that means is you can grow a zone 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when you read the tag, it says grows in zone 6. You're good to go because you're a zone 7. As it goes up, I'm a zone 8. I'm a gardener. I like to see if I can grow it. They say, oh, you can't grow that here. I'm going, yeah, I'll prove you wrong. So I've got a few zone 8 things, some cacti, palm trees. I kind of protect them a little bit. I bring them close to the house. It's a lot of work. But I do grow some zone 7s. Hey, Vincent. Hey, big man. Hey, come here. Say hi to everyone. Yeah, that's Vincent is our company mascot.
Okay.
Vincent is almost 10, and he was the very first puppy to seed the Guide Dog for the Blind program here in Prescott. So our daughter was going through high school, and she wanted to do this. So Vincent went to church with us, went to restaurants, went to school every day with our daughter. very socialized, and he went off to San Jose or San Rafael, where all the guide dogs for the blind are trained, and he passed, and then he had an incident where he got kicked out. So if you raised them, you get first dibs. These are very prestigious dogs. So we'd love to have Vincent back. That'd be great. It'd be perfect. What are we going to do with this dog? We change his vest out. We say, therapy dog, please pet me. Now he free roams and just greets people. So he'll come in every 2 or 3 times a day, 2 times a week. I think he gets tired, and he's getting old. So he's kind of going, I don't want to go to work today. Go without me sometimes. So we let him decide if he wants to come in. Today, I think he knew a class was on. Guess who all the dog people are? Because he can smell the treats in your purse or whatever. So he's scouting it out right now because he is kind of a Labrador. So yeah. So zones 9, 10, 11, those are Phoenix. And what that is, it's all about antifreeze. Plants have antifreeze in them. How much do they have? So zone 5, those plants will go down to minus 20, 30, 40 degrees. Some crazy man cold we'll never see, but it will still grow here. So like lilacs, that's typically a zone 4 or 5. Grows in Wisconsin, grows anywhere. Doesn't grow in Wisconsin? Oh yeah, lilacs are a weed up there. So they get pretty cold, frost lines, but they'll also grow here where we hardly have a frost line, if we have a frost line. So they still adapt really well. So that's zones in a nutshell. Okay. First and last frost, maybe you cover that.
Before I go, and before I forget, when you are looking at plant tags, be very careful. The plant tags are made for the entire country, not Prescott, Arizona. So if it says full sun and it's down in our shady section, there is a reason for it being in that shady section, because it can't take our intense heat sunshine that we get here. The leaves will fry. So if you take a hosta and put it out in the full sun, he won't be there when you get back in the afternoon.
Californians and the Japanese maples, that's a big, it grows outside in San Diego. Not here. It won't like that full sun.
So be really careful. We do have the nursery set up in different areas. So the area that's right in front of the cash registers down there is shade. The area that's under the black shade outside the lower greenhouse is all shady shrubs. So we try to help you that way, but if in doubt, ask. That's what we're here for. We try to help you with that.
Yeah, we do actually have a website too, so watergardencenter.com, but we also have a shopping cart. So those trees you're seeing, they're on our website. And we put the description on how it grows here, not the national tag. We're actually putting, obviously you get the price and the size, that kind of, but also how does it grow? So it's a great research tool on how does that Austrian pine grow here as opposed to, let's say, Seattle or Spokane or other parts of the country. We'll put things are going to grow about 25% shorter here than they do other parts of the country. The leaves will be a little smaller. It's because of the dryness, that aridness causes that. And we cool down so much in the winter, in the evening, the plants only grow kind of half speed. They grow during the day, and then they kind of just shut down at night. So it kind of slows the process down because you have these huge temperature swings, especially in spring. You have 50 degree temperature swings. That's messing with some of the plants. It stunts them a little bit. So it'll be a little smaller than maybe you're used to lilacs in Wisconsin. They won't grow 15, 20 feet here. They'll grow like 9 to 12 feet. There'll be a definite click down. So on that website, we show, this is what you can expect in your backyard. That's important if you're doing shade trees, privacy screens. You kind of want to know what's reality here. So we're trying to help you with that. Ask us.
And as far as the frost dates here, so our last frost date is usually Mother's Day. As you know, this spring, we actually froze the weekend after Mother's Day. So it's kind of a goal.
The 100-year average is Mother's Day.
Exactly.
Only 50 of those days were before, the other 50 were after. The average is.
The first year I was here, we froze on Memorial Day. So just pay attention to the weather, you know, go out and cover. Ken sometimes will send out a frost report warning. So if you have an email address on there, he'll send that out to you. As far as the first snow date or the frost date in the fall, it's October 31st. So usually we start getting really cold by then. Leaves start turning October, usually first part of October, and your pears will be the last one to drop in November. So
this is good fall color.
It's
so aspens, we got Aspen Creek. You could walk there from here. So they grow really well. The Midwest version of that, birch grows really even hardier than aspen does. Maples, they all grow well here. We kind of prefer the Prescott or the Blaze maples. The fastest growing are the red maples, just because they tend to, they don't tear the leaf. The wind tends to tear a lot of maples up, and so these tend to tear less. Yet it still gets that red color, which looks great with those the natural yellows that we have. The red kind of it's kind of the rock star of the red leaves.
And there are a lot of trees that do fabulous fall color. Your fruit trees, if you have smaller yards and you want to grow some fruit, they have beautiful fall color. The oranges and yellows mixed in there. Your peaches and cherries, they have gorgeous colors. So think about growing food as a ornamental tree, and you can make them fit in your yard.
We should cover, because there's quite a bit of Phoenix Mesa folks. Citrus does not grow here. Just don't ask. Stop asking that. Avocados you cannot grow here. That's South SoCal. But we do grow great apples, pears, cherries, apricots, nectarines, all the other plums.
All the fruit
they all
trees.
do, and it's tremendous. Tremendous harvest this year. Grapes, pomegranates, figs, they all grow here.
Yeah, so we have a lot of variety.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think you're in this brown landscape, but there's a lot of things you can do here. So look forward to new plantings. Be patient with your new plantings, but we can do a lot here.
How many would define themselves as gardeners in other areas? They think they're pretty good with plants. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over half the group. Yeah, most of you. The beautiful thing about gardening, what I love about gardening here, so I had a corporate move that took me up. My other life, I was a banker. I was at Equifax. I did credit reports. I tracked how you paid your bills, packaged it, and resold it back to banks and stuff. It took me up to Sacramento. I mean, I could throw this name tag on the ground. It would start to grow. I mean, it was crazy. You did not have to be a gardener. Here, you got to be a little bit more accurate. There's less fudge factor. But when you do, it's like an oasis. It's so bright and so colorful. Other areas, they're just all this green. You kind of they're more green. You just don't appreciate it as much. Here, you really get a flavor for gardening and the success that comes. And your neighbors notice it too. They can, looks pretty good. How'd you do that?
So in a lot of our yards, we have a lot of xeriscape. We have a lot of gravel. And you can make that look beautiful by adding a rock, some grasses. There are plenty of plants that we can add to your yard to make it look beautiful. And not just evergreens, because everybody, once you're here in the wintertime, you will end up, ooh, it's just brown. There are evergreens that we have that will...
There you go. Is that the right height? We should put it on the chair, you think? Is that right? We'll advertise the mulch with this.
We'll give you color all winter long. Let me do these three.
Oh, I can hold them. There you go. You're going to put, what do you make me do? Juggle?
Yeah. Can't you do that? So
we like working together, actually.
We have a lot of different plants that you can put together. You need your deciduous stuff, so you have your beautiful flowers, and you have your evergreens that can give you color throughout the winter time. So you have to mix it up. You can't just do one, or I guess I can't say that. You can do whatever you want, but it's nice to mix it up, because then you get your spring color, your summer color, your fall color, your winter color. And that's what gardening's all about. We
actually tell folks when you're designing, give 20% of your plant mix to evergreens. That way you don't look bare in the winter. Give 20% to spring bloomers, your lilacs, forsythia, quince. There's a whole bunch of spring blooming plants. So you got some highlight. It's kind of like, well, spring is here. It's so exciting. Give 20% to summer bloomers, crepe myrtles, roses Sharons, smoke bush, a lot of the summer, desert willows. They look really good now. And then give 20% to your fall color. Maples, aspens, choke cherries, even purple leaf plums. Give it some bright color. And then that last 20%, give it to whatever tickles your fancy, whatever you like. Skew it to that. Your gardeners, have fun with it. Or if this is your winter home, your Alaskans. We see a lot of Alaskans winter down here. Put it all towards the winter mix because that's when you're here. If your home this is your summer home, your winter home's in Scottsdale and you're back up here in the summer, put it towards the summer things. This is when you're here and enjoying it. So that's kind of 20, 20, 20, 20. And that last bit, so you always got something interesting going on in the landscape. Okay? Yeah. So this is euonymus,
and a
boxwood. Yeah. Evergreens. Yeah.
And the great thing about the boxwood, it's kind of boring, but the animals do not like it.
Yeah.
So this is a great one to have if you have deer, rabbits, and all of that. This is like saying
deer
the
food.
buffet is open.
Deer food.
Rabbits.
That's Havoline. That's proof everything. So, yeah. I'll let you keep going down the line.
Okay.
Wherever you got you hand it to me, I'll hold it and show it off to the camera. How about that?
I'll do that.
You want to go with hukara? I can only do 3 at most.
You can juggle.
No, which one are you doing first?
I'm doing all of them.
Okay. Do hukara first.
Heuchera. So heuchera is a perennial that loves the shade.
I'm not ignoring you. Just making sure they always feel like they're second place.
The greatest thing about the heuchera is all about the leaf color. So these come in amazing colors. This one has the purples, the orange, and the green. They come in dark purple. They come in lime green. So you can mix it up if you have a shady spot. They all vary in size. Usually 2 by 2 is average.
That's about right.
They do have a flower that comes up kind of insignificant, but it's all about the leaf color with that. And they are resistant to deer and rabbits, which is great.
Found this does grow in full sun if you pour the water on it.
So
What's it called again?
Heuchera.
Or coral bells.
Yeah.
In layman's terms.
Your grandparents called it
Yeah.
coral bells.
Coral bells. This is a GM, or they've changed the name to Avens.
Really?
Yeah.
they
On the
do
back
that?
of the tag, though, it says GM. This is a great shady plant. It blooms this beautiful orange color. There's also another one down below that has a strawberry. It looks like strawberry lemonade because it has the yellow and the red. Nice big bushy shrub, kind of leafy, but then it has this gorgeous color that pops out. Blooms most of the summer, so it's a great pop of color in a shady garden.
This is one that's super boring in the spring. It's just barely coming up. You'd never buy it. You really find this at the garden centers now, June, July. This is perennial season. This is when you can actually see, this says something. Yeah, you can read it a little bit, but this you can understand. It just looks good. Okay.
And then these two are shady shrubs. We have ivory feathers or ivory halo dogwood, which has this beautiful variegated leaf. The twigs do turn red in the winter, so it is deciduous. It will lose its leaves, but it has those beautiful red twigs underneath it.
This is one in the East Coast, folks. You grow this out in full sun.
Yeah.
Midwest full sun. Here, don't do that. You won't. It will live. It'll do what the tag says. This will live in full sun. You'll just hate it. It looks pretty in the shade, and it's bright. Your cottonwoods or the pine trees or the north side of your house. It'll take some sun, but that midday 10 to 2 in June is pretty rough on it.
Yeah.
So
this is also a 9-bark. Great, fabulous color. Does bloom. But it does like the shade. And again, this is a full sun in Wisconsin. Even Colorado, we do this in full sun. But here, it tends to burn on the edges if you put it out in full sun.
And look how good they look together. That's design right there.
That was the purpose of it.
Yeah, sure.
And then the last shady plant I wanted to show you, this is a canna lily. This is a spectacular specimen, beautiful orange, fabulous leaf color. There's some red ones down there that are just magnificent. They are perennial, so they will come back year after year. Gives you some height. These guys, the red ones, are like 4 foot tall. They're gorgeous. So you can be creative in a shady spot and make it look beautiful.
Looks tropical.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks beautiful.
absolutely.
I do find mine, it can get a little wind whipped, torn some. So maybe a little protection from the wind. If you don't put it right there in that wind tunnel between the houses or something, back patio, sun, it just, I've only had a little trouble. And sometimes you can just stake them to stay up straight if they're getting real tall.
I don't have shade, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see.
Just go down the line.
Just go down the line.
Yeah. Here, I'll help you. Here,
Okay. Ken's not going to talk about this grass because he hates it.
I do.
But I put a
Lisa
pot,
likes it.
Yeah, I put a pot together the other day for a gal, and this is a sedge. It's the red curly sedge. It does kind of have that dead look to it, but it's a beautiful color. And this is a live grass. It's not dead, but it gives you a pop of color in a drought tolerant selection. This is a rainbow ascot euphorbia. Very, very drought tolerant. This is actually an evergreen perennial. So this will get probably 2-3 foot wide, has beautiful chartreuse flowers in the spring, almost looks prehistoric. It is a relative of the gopher plant that is out there as well. That is that blue-gray foliage, that kind of triangle-ish. It looks like a dragon tail or something. But I love those two because they just sit out there. They take all the heat, the wind, the rain.
Can't kill them.
You can't
kill them.
And they're resistant, animal resistant, because it is in the euphorbia family. So if you pop a stem off, it has that white sap that nothing likes to eat.
I have a little tree. This is related to poinsettias, Christmas poinsettias.
Okay.
Cousins. I have that same kind of sap, but this one has got a lot of antifreeze in it. So this will go down to, I've had this go down to 0. Be great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then this is a yarrow. They've come out with some new frilly ones. The moonshine yarrow, which is the yellow one, is deer resistant, whereas I've had rabbits eat this down to the nubbins. So this is not resistant. So we do have yarrow on our resistant list. The yellow
Pick
one
the right
is,
one.
Yeah, pick the right one. The yellow one is the only one that is resistant.
That's the
to
native one
animals,
too.
Yeah. And which is why it's probably resistant. They like this fancy stuff.
But that's prettier if you've
It
done
is
enough
prettier.
yellow.
If you have a fenced yard or something, you can definitely do this.
Wascally wabbit.
Annuals. We were talking about seasons. There are seasons for annuals as well. So we are in full bloom summer season. Vinca.
Who is that?
We love.
Who's got their phone on right now? Pardon us, just a minute, folks online.
These are tough, hot weather annual sunshine plants.
Oh yeah.
Bees and hummingbirds over there. Right before we close, the hummingbirds are just having a field day because of this plant. So if you are into butterfly and hummingbird gardens, these are the plants that you want in your pots next to your patio. The swallowtails are fabulous on this guy.
I put Pinta, I just planted 3 of these yesterday on the patio, just because I want butterflies to come up to the patio, just in pots. Mm-hmm. So I had some trees, just had some bare space. That's where Pintas are going. And butterflies are all over those.
Right. Yeah. And it's really fun when they come off the truck and you just see the animal or the butterflies and birds all over it. So this is summer. In the spring, we have the snapdragons and pansies. In the fall, we'll have those again. And so you do have your choices for annuals. And that's what annuals mean. You're going to plant annually. So you can do your spring and fall and winter and then your summer.
So P and, permanent and perennial both start with P. So they come back every year. Annuals, just for the year, and then they're gone. but they bloom better. They
Right.
just have more flowers
Yeah.
to them. Now we're done with that. We showed how to, we didn't talk about it though,
We
did
did
we?
not.
Rosa Sharon.
Rosa Sharon. So this is the, I lost the name, Fuji. Rosa Sharon. And isn't this color beautiful? It has that swirly pink and white flower color. These come in all different colors as well. So if pink and white don't fit into your color scheme, they come in pinks and blues. There's a white with a red eye. There's a kind of it's called Cabernet, and name is very appropriate because it has that wine colored look to it. These are full sun.
Yeah.
They are resistant to your deer and rabbits. They get probably in that 6 to 8 foot tall range. So if you have a back corner or something that you want to fill in, these are a great plant for that.
It's actually a hardy hibiscus.
Yes.
Really what it is. It's not quite as big as a tropical hibiscus, but I've had them load up with so many flowers, literally the bush fell over. I had to stake it back up because it was just all flowers. Crazy. Beautiful.
And this is one of my favorite grasses. This is a blonde ambition. It's a grama grass. This is you see a lot of grama grasses out in the fields.
Pick the heaviest one.
Of course.
You see that?
It was just watered. But it has this great seed head. And I just think it's pretty.
It hovers horizontally to the ground. It's kind of funky.
And this is the size. So if you're looking for something just to brighten up a rock, this is perfect to put right next to a rock.
And a native. Truly a native grass. You'll see it growing out there. Just adapts by itself, will recede, come up.
I think my sunflower needs water.
Yeah, it needs water. Needs some sun.
So this is a Sunbelievable. This is a new annual sunflower that they came out with a couple of years ago. And it kind of stays in that 2 to 3 foot size range. Great summer annual that gorgeous on your patios. Bring some yellow to your garden.
Its claim to fame is it's supposed to put 1,000 flowers on in one season. It just continually rotates flowers. It's amazing. And it doesn't get real tall like traditional sunflowers. It stays this beautiful little mountain. It truly does do what it says.
Coreopsis. The Coreopsis, there's a lot of different varieties of this.
You can't help yourself,
I
can you?
can't. I do this all the time. The Coreopsis is also known as tick seed. It has different leaf structures. So if the thin, narrow leaves aren't for you, there's ones that are long and skinny. If the yellow and orange don't fit your needs, there's one that's kind of a lemony yellow and a red eye to it. So you can find the plant that'll fit into your color scheme.
Wildflower, reseeds, great plant for full sun. Rock gardens, just tough.
And they're usually pretty resistant.
Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with my rabbits with this.
This one I just planted.
I love this plant.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite hummingbird plants. So those of you that want the hummingbirds in your garden, you have to have one of these. These come in a variety of colors as well. The red, the yellow, the violet that we have. Hummingbirds just love it. And this is a great size. It doesn't get huge. Some of them used to get like 5 foot tall. This one stays nice and small in that 2 to 3 foot.
What is it?
It's an agastache. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, don't let us. We get.
It is a perennial. Everything unless I say it's an annual, everything else is going to come
This
back.
one I find is equally as hardy as the Russian sage, but less weedy. It's more confined. It keeps its bounds much better. And the hummingbirds they just love it. So yeah, agastache. Agastache. And you can come up and take pictures of the tags later, or
if you find one you like, you can just walk away with it. So.
This is true. Some of these are true gardener plants. We try to collect funky, weird, different things. Perennials also, they need to be about 2 years old. They need to be 2 years or older before they're old enough to bloom. So you'll find that a lot of folks don't like to carry perennials because you got to care for them too long. They're just going for those annuals where they just turn the greenhouses. That'd be the big box stores. You don't want to shop there. You want to shop at a real garden place that has funky, weird, different things like agastache. Yeah.
This is red.
Flowering perennials, then once they start flowering, flower
It depends. Good question. Repeat the question for the folks online.
So her question was, do all the flowers continue to bloom all summer? And it depends on the flower. The agastache will continue to bloom all season long. Some of them are spring bloomers. Some of them are fall bloomers. Usually when we bring them in, we try to bring them in when they're blooming. So if you're trying to do a seasonal garden where you need spring plants, you need to come in the spring because that's when we have them, like your columbines and things like that.
I have been deadheading or pinching the flowers off, and many of them will. Our season is so long, they'll rebloom for you. So I just trimmed back all my meadow sage. They've been in full bloom all spring, and now they have all these spent flowers. Look at a backyard party. I'm inviting the whole crew over to my house for 4th of July. The place better look good. And so I deadheaded it back, then I fertilized them, and so now they're starting to rebloom again. Same with my ceanothus or Jupiter's beard. Cut all those back, and now they're starting to bloom again. So it just depends. Really, the spring bloomers bloom spring into early summer. Then they kind of go, it's just too hot. Then the summer things, which are showing off here, they tend to take us from summer through fall, early winter, and they'll just keep blooming.
And deadheading is always great because it does keep it, because as soon as a plant goes to seed, it says, okay, I'm done. If you just let those seeds do it, you probably won't get another bloom. But if you keep it.
Can I mention something too, just that, because I'm a bird gardener. My big thing, I love birds. I love butterflies. I do some vegetable gardening, but I really do lots of flowers. And so we are on the migratory path. Birds go north to south right through this region. They're following the water up through the Verde, up through the different areas. And so you will see an amazing range of bird wildlife here, from hummingbirds, but to everything else too, from the birds of prey to just orioles, cardinals, everything you'll see. So it's really fun to kind of go after those. So my echinaceas, gaillardias, that kind of stuff, I'll deadhead until probably about September. And then I'll let them go to seed so that my birds have something to feed on in midwinter. I plant grapes up and down the fence line. The upper portion is for me. The lower portion, I just let the birds have. Because I want them back there pecking around looking for stuff. So I'm strategic with how I'm trying to attract the birds. So anyway, we're losing them. We're an hour in. You better hurry up.
Okay. So this is a red hot poker. And if you guys saw on the driveway, we have one of these. It's absolutely gorgeous out there. These guys look like the old-fashioned popsicles, the bottle rockets that have all the different colors on them. Very drought-tolerant plant. Gorgeous. Great color.
Goes with this companion plant. Echinacea. This is one I said I'd prune deadhead into. I'll stop about September sometime. So
beautiful color. And again, the birds, especially the yellow finches, they love this one.
Gets up about that tall, full sun, and it reseeds. It's a wildflower. Comes back by itself. It's a great plant.
Lavender is a fabulous plant that does really well. Animal resistant, full sun plant, gorgeous color. And they come in a variety of different sizes. And there are the French, the English, Spanish. Spanish is more colorful. They have the bigger flowers, whereas the English and French are more narrow and more smelly.
We're at Prescott Lakes Golf Club. They had some of these out in front of the clubhouse. They're probably this tall, about 3 foot wide. Magnificent and super drought hardy. If you're going to kill this will be from overwatering. If you water this too much, if your hobby is watering, not gardening, this is not the plant for you. So this is,
I have found, so I'm going to admit that I've killed more lavenders than I've actually grown.
Don't admit that to.
But I have a better story here. But I've taken 3 home this year and they're still alive. So that's a good thing. So I am watering them twice a week just to make sure that they're sustained and they're doing very well. So it was a success story. Not
My best lavender is in a big old pot, big old oxblood red container, just because you get drainage. Put it in potting soil, water it a couple times a week. Loves it. And it just year after year, evergreen. hardy.
Right.
Animals don't eat it. Javelina just don't like it. Deer. Anyway, butterfly bush.
Butterfly bush, a great color. It blooms from early June to November. Come in a variety of sizes. So if you have a small yard and you want 2 or 3 foot, we have the pugsters or the lo and behold butterfly bushes. This is a Miss Violet. The misses and the buzz series are in that 4 to 5 foot range.
Japan.
And then the regular butterfly bushes are going to get in that 6 to 8. So there's a size for every yard.
This grows so well here, and truly, it is a butterfly magnet. It is a butterfly bush. They call it that for a reason. But your grandparents, they only knew the dark night, that these giants. I mean, small children, dogs have been lost in butterfly bush. They get huge. They take over an entire section of the yard. But they're so hardy for here. So we're trying to introduce more and more dwarfed varieties that are now less care, easier to maintain, but still have that same pretty flower. Another name they call this is summer lilac, because it's got a lilac kind of flower, but lilacs bloom March, April. This blooms summer through
And it is
winter.
very fragrant too.
Yeah, you will have butterflies. I guarantee. Who was that on? Was that a chef or something?
Something like that. Barberry, this is a great just color shrub. This is an orange rocket. It's going to get in that 5 to 6 foot tall range and only 3 to 5 wide, or 2 to 3 wide. So if you need some height in a very little space, this is a perfect plant for you.
Talk about this. This is the most exciting thing I've seen
Yeah.
this summer.
This is awesome. This is actually a brand new plant for us. I've never seen one like this.
We get bored, so we get excited with new
plants come
things.
in. So this is a Vitex, a chase tree. It has a totally different leaf than the chase trees that we are used to. And this one only gets 5 to 6 foot. So we're really excited about this. It's going to have those beautiful pink or purple blossoms, but it's a great size for smaller yards. So.
Most Vitex or chase tree grows 10, 12 feet tall. Huge, big vase-shaped, huge shrub or small tree. So it's too big for a lot of yards, but it's super drought hardy. Summer bloomer right through fall. So it's exciting to see something that's now can fit almost in any yard off the patio, but has that same hardiness, same drought hardiness, and the same flower.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a pollinator.
Yeah,
I'm gonna plant one in my
absolutely.
house. Why'd you bring lemon balm? What is that all
Well, it
about?
kind of came.
Oh, you're gonna do a container. Oh, that's a
we're
good
gonna do
idea.
container. So
Oh,
last one,
I see. It came out of
he
there.
just
Got
came
it.
out of here. So just to show you that containers can be beautiful and edible at the same time. This is a rosemary on a stick.
Smells good.
Tuscan blue in a nice pot. You can have it as a topiary on your patio. You can get a little bit bigger pot than what it's in here now, but I just kind of put some other herbs in here that you could, go pluck if you wanted to cook with them. It's just a really pretty pot.
All of our vegetables and herbs are completely organic. We're big into organic. That's our thing. They aren't all labeled for organic because we're a small company. You can't afford to certify everything, but we don't use any weird, funky stuff. We don't use nicotinoids on things. We're kind of this organic place. And so you can go through and taste, and herbs grow better here than virtually anywhere else in the country. Where it's more humid, they tend to get leaf spot, leaf mold, but they just melt down. They don't get enough breeze. Where it's really hot, they can vaporize. Here, we're in that perfect spot. The light, they really like that bright, dry air. They perform really well, and most are perennials. Like lemon balm, I cannot keep it from spreading in my yard.
Oh,
I'm tired of this plant, but it's beautiful. It comes up by itself. It's almost like its own little thing. Rosemaries do so well.
And the reason I brought that is because a lot of people have been asking, well, what can I do to get rid of those mosquitoes in the area?
Oh, yeah.
And
Perfect.
This is perfect for it.
Yeah.
I do have one citronella geranium over there, but yeah.
So sage, rosemary, lavender, oregano, thyme, all these guys are perennials. Plant it once, comes back for years to go. Not inside your house. I mean, in the landscape, right out there. They'll just come back year after year after year. They're truly perennial.
The only two
herbs.
that you would have to replant here is your basils.
Basil's kind of a wimpy plant, yeah. But I know where you can get new ones every spring. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You wanted to go over 2 more trees
Two
kind
more
of thing?
trees,
Great
and
time.
we're done.
This is one of our trees of July.
This is a Chanticleer pear. This is an ornamental pear, so it will not fruit. Beautiful white flowers in the springtime, gorgeous orange fall color in the fall. And it's one of the last trees to go to color. So as your maples are already losing their leaves, your pears are going to still have that color.
Yeah, the Midwest folks, they don't like this tree because ice storms tend to tear them up. So ice will load up and they break. We don't have ice storms. We live in God's country. Who would live where ice storms are? Come on, get out of there. So, I mean, who would live 10 miles from the sun? Who lives in Phoenix? Got to be hurricane country. Leave Florida. Why are you living there? This plant loves growing here. It's bright spring flowers. Doesn't actually form a fruit. Dense shade. So it has this beautiful dense head to it. So it's a great shade tree.
And this
literally the
one's
last tree
narrow,
to turn.
which is one why I like it. It only gets 12, 15 feet wide, so it'll fit in some of our smaller yards. See, you do it too.
I like the aristocrat, and I like the Bradfords, the wider ones. So just there's a width for all, but they're all related. It's an ornamental fruiting tree, but I like it when everything else is naked. Or naked, as our Texans would say. This one is just starting to turn red. It's got an interesting white bark as it ages. And lastly, because we're in pine country, pine and juniper country.
This is an Oregon green pine. It is a more narrow tree as well. Going to get in that 20, 25 foot range and about 10, 15 feet wide. Gorgeous evergreen. It does lose a few needles, but all your pines are going to do that. Great evergreen for your dense.
This is this year's growth. In case you want to know, evergreens, if you want to know how much it grows a year, just look at the last candle growth. That's how much it grows a year. You could really, spruce, pine, firs, cedars, they all kind of look at that. You can tell how much it grows. So that's going to grow about a foot a year as it grows up. But pine trees naturalize really well here. Junipers, they don't get enough credit. They naturalize really well here. Animals don't eat them. Spruce trees, we got Spruce Mountain right here. So they grow really, really well, naturalize really well. So those are things that maybe you couldn't grow in the desert, but they do really well up here. In fact, all of these things, none of these will grow down below 3,500 foot level. The Phoenix, Black Canyon City, they're out. But up here, they do really, really well. So with that, I think we're kind of to an end.
Absolutely.
So we will hang out. If we didn't get your question, those online folks, they're always.
The leaves of my tree rows are turning brown around the edges. What do I need to do? So the edges of the leaves on this rose tree are turning brown.
So there's quite a few. There's more questions that I need to ask you than you need to ask me. So it depends on how often you're watering, because those brown edges can be too much water or it's not getting enough thorough water. So if you're watering more than once or twice a week and it's a new rose, you're probably watering too much. Also, the humic will help open the system up so it can absorb more nutrients and stuff.
Put these two things down right away because June's been hard. They got stressed. That's stress. Put these two things to force new growth. There you go.
Can you recommend a ground cover that goes over rocks and rabbits won't eat? I have so many rabbits.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Thyme.
Creeping thyme. Oregano will do it. Anything herbal. The
Junipers, cotoneasters, sumacs.
Yes.
Come visit us. We'll show you. We'll give you the grand tour.
Come see us.
Perfect. That's all online.
Oh, good.
We can have everyone here. If you have any questions here in the audience, feel free, but we'll end
Yeah, so we'll cut off here, and then if you could, it's the first time Michelle and I taught a class. She covers, then I cover, and I went, let's do it together. Let's give it up for Michelle. Thank you. Yeah. And we'll feel free to look at the plant. We'll hang out and just answer questions as long as you all want.
Go ahead and take it.
Yeah.
I won't have to put it back. See ya.
Ciao.
See y'all later.
And then
right.
Next week, what is next week's class?
I don't know.
Look online. What is it?
Berries and fruit.
Berries and fruits. Good. It's
Next
time.
week? Great.
It's time.